So, welcome everybody to the first decider set of 2 pools 2. We're gonna have a SalzZ, Winchester Classic Pro, and potentially a Dark versus Hallis and the BlinG, the StarCraft 2 professional player, coming back to Age of Empires. They actually had an insanely good series yesterday versus Spring and Dragonstar, whereas SalzZ was the #1 seed, I believe, of the qualifiers, which means that they didn't have to play in the first round. So, quick look at the draft over here. We'll have Bulgarians, Tatars, Italians, Mongols, and Indians for SalzZ in Pool 1. Aztecs, Burgundians, Burmese, Cumans, and Koreans are the Pool 2 civs. According to the admins, Aztecs was a random pick, but Aztecs in 2v2 isn't that great, to be honest. There are some maps where you can use them well, namely, I think Forest Pond might be the place, but they're not really a good archer civ for 2v2s because they don't have thumb ring, so there are way better archer civs. Other side, we have Franks, Mayans, Persians, Ethiopians, Spanish. That actually is a nice combination of civs. For Hallis' team for the first pool, Sicilians, Japanese, Portuguese, Teutons, and Turks will be their pool 2 civs. And if you ask me, I like the draft of Hallis' team a lot better. Their pool 1 civs all do make quite a lot of sense. It actually has some versatility as well, so they have Frey Cavalry civs, 2 Archer civs available in pool 1. They have Portuguese as a potential Cavalry civ in pool 2. I love the Japanese pick because it proved to be one of the best civilizations on Cape of Storms last year, no, not last year, 2 years ago on Cape of Storms in 2 pools 1. So, with that, we'll have Forest Pond and Regicide Fortress for SalzZ. They are going for the more closed maps, I would say. Cape of Storms for Hallis and BlinG, and Eruption. Interesting is the fact that they choose Eruption, because I would think that Eruption is a map where I would prefer SalzZ, because mechanically, they are probably more advanced, so I think Hallis and BlinG is gonna have to bring in some surprising strategies to battle this one. So we'll see where Italians, Mongols, and Indians go for SalzZ. I would think that Mongols could be Regicide Fortress, Italians could be a civ for Forest Pond. They do have Koreans. Koreans could be the other Regicide Fortress civilization, although it seems like it's gonna be Cumans. Indians could be Arabia civ, because nothing else really makes sense for it. And it is interesting to point out the Bulgarians pick. We'll see what Winchester Classic Pro and the Dark are up to. So, with that, I think we're good to go for the first game. So, we will jump into Arabia over here, and Winchester Classic Pro versus Hallis and BlinG, the British team, versus mixed Russian-Ukrainian team. We're going to have Winchester and Classic Pro playing in the first one for SalzZ, and we will have Hallis and BlinG playing in our code colors for the British team. So, with that, we'll have BlinG, who is using his civilian name Samayan K for Age of Empires username. He used to be an Age of Empires legend, then went to play professional StarCraft, and then came back to Age of Empires not too long ago. But what he has done in the previous round was very, very impressive. If I didn't know that he only started playing Age of Empires for 2 months again, I would have said that he's been playing for years consistently, because he has had a very, very steady performance, very, very nicely done. Gameplay, barely made any mistakes. He's going to be playing Sicilians, which was the same civ that he used in 2 pools in the previous round. So he's going to be playing Sicilians, and he's going to be the Scout civ, or a Cavalry civ. Other side, we're going to have Hallis as Mayans in blue. I think this is the exact same setup that we have seen Hallis and the BlinG use in the previous round of qualifiers. Sicilians are an okay cavalry civilization, to be honest. So there is a lot of things to love about them. They have a strong food eco. They do have Cavalier fully upgraded, so they're somewhat comparable to Slavs in a way. They're not as strong with their eco, but they're still a fairly formidable civilization. But also, what's more important is that they suffer from less bonus damage, and that is extremely important because they are up against Indians, and Indians will actually be playing with camels. We've only seen Indians being played once in the previous round, and they actually won that game in a crazy game. But I don't like Indians overall. I feel like Indians, with their camos, they just can't really handle the archers of the opponent, so that could be a little bit problematic. If Classic Pro is able to bring in good amounts of archers, then it's not really going to be a problem, and he's playing Koreans, which is an excellent archer civilization nowadays. The free armor upgrades help a lot, the cheaper wood cost helps an awful lot. He's going to be playing yellow on the south, and with that, let's take a look at the maps of the players, but before, it looks like we have Winchester and the Classic Pro both lurking around the opponent's bases quite early on, no deer push, and they're actually pinging each other's scouts. Now, one thing is sure, Winchester and Classic Pro have much more team chemistry than Hallis+BlinG together. Winch and Classic Pro has been playing together for quite a while, and I wouldn't be surprised to see potentially teaming up their scouts, trying to find a villager kill, or just Winchester running into a TC fire for an absolute disaster. Still, he could try denying this deer push, although BlinG, once again, doesn't really have a shaky hand. Look at that. He landed the shot on the scout and then continued to push the deer. Very, very clean play once again from our green player. So early voice coming in here for Winchester, and what is going to be a dead villager after all, something that's actually worth reminding, because it seems like this rolling villager was apparently unloomed, and the start couldn't be better for Hallis+BlinG, to be honest. They pick off a villager, they weaken the opponent's scout over here, and now they have a villager lead over Winchester, which is extremely important at this early stage of the game. Very, very nicely done here by Hallis. So, Winchester's gold mine is extremely exposed. Overall, his base is very open from the north. The south is actually very, very nicely volable, but the north is a cause of concern, I would say. We'll have Archer Civ versus Cavalry Civ over here on the north. On the south, we'll have same thing, Archer versus Cavalry Civilization, a beautiful gold mine for Classic Pro, and overall a well-volable map, as both of the SalzZ members are going for some early vols, but they gotta be careful, because these villagers could be easily picked off. The Eagle of Hallis lost some HP, but it's not really the end of the world, because he can just go back to his TC and heal it up, and oh boy, he could actually try... Oh, that's downhills Eagle. That Eagle scout was actually attacking downhills. Winchester cannot afford to lose another villager here, and it looks like Hallis will disengage for now, but he's being extremely annoying. Look at how much he's crippling his opponent's woodline. 1, 2, 3 more, and Winchester loses another villager. And this Eagle, you can just run back to your TC and heal it up. That's the beautiful thing about this one. That was an excellent start for Hallis, and a disaster for Winchester. He's down 2 villagers, and we haven't talked about this yet, but Winchester and Classic Pro should be the massive favorites of this one. When I saw the brackets, I was like, I am very, very sad for BlinG and Hallis, because I would love to see BlinG more in the tournament, but they don't really stand a chance against SalzZ, or at least that's what I thought. But after that, I saw how Hallis+BlinG played against Spring and Dragonstar, I believe. And then I also saw this start, and I'm starting to be confident that this isn't going to be an easy ride for Winch. I told you this yesterday, that after what I've seen from the British players yesterday, it really seems like they have a pretty clean gameplay, and they are ready for this SalzZ team over here, and they grab an excellent advantage at the beginning of this game. So, looking at the map of BlinG, he actually has a pretty awful map as well, comparable to Winchester's one in quality. The gold in the north is super, super open. And on the other side, we're gonna have a fairly vulnerable base for Hallis over here. Could have been better if it was like one more tile more forward, just to make sure that gold mine is super safe, but it's not really the end of the world. So, Mayans, Sicilians versus Koreans, Indians. Late game, I prefer Mayans massively over Koreans, but also you gotta be careful about Indians being in late Imperial with Imperial camos, because that could be very dangerous. So you see that Winchester is going up at a very, very late time. This is 21 villagers and he lost 2, so compared to BlinG, who is already up to feudal with a 21 pop scouts, this wasn't even a super aggressive build. This was just standard 21 pop scouts, or even though he pushed in a 3 deer himself. He's actually going to be up to feudal already, and there's a scout around that could potentially find a villager kill over here if it goes this way. So, with that, first shot landed by Classic Pro over here, as BlinG will just disengage. Barak's just now up for Classic Pro, and that's a very, very late feudal for Winchester. He is just going for Loom. The reason why he delayed Loom this much is because he realized, oh boy, I am so late to fuel roll that I can't afford to even go for Loom. Goes for Horse Collar and double bit axe, but you see that he's just making the stable. His opponent is already going to be on 2 or 3 scouts. This is an awful start for Winchester, and given the fact that his base also looks quite bad, so he's got no gold control, for example, that is just going to make things a lot worse as well. So, with that, Classic Pro will be fully walled, goes for the big walls overall around his base. He could send out a couple of villagers for the hunt, that's for sure, as BlinG will actually group up his scouts, and I would think they will double down on Winchester, because the better player out of the two is definitely Winchester. So, if you can cause a lot of damage to him, that's going to be an excellent start. You already have Winch coming in here with his own scouts though, so let's see if we have the archers and spears moving forward. I don't like this single archer being sent forward by Hallis. That feels problematic, because straggler archers like that could be easily picked off by scouts, and that's not something that you want. This is why you accompany your archers with a couple of spearmen. Hallis is slowly walling himself up, but he's not done just yet, so they're gonna be careful not to get overrun by scouts over here. Only a single range archer play from Classic Pro, but he's gonna have +1 defense thanks to Koreans already. Whereas we already have double ranges for Hallis with a blacksmith fletching in as well for him in a matter of moments. So once again, this could start getting problematic for Winch. BlinG retreats nicely, eats some TC fire. But if you take a look at these wood lines, both of these could be denied by archers. Farming space could also be denied. There is some weak villagers as well here farming, so if you're not careful, you will lose a couple of them. And with that, contingency walls are coming in here for Winch, and he's not going to have any access to gold, and that's a disaster for him, I believe. So even if you just delay Winchester to gold, he won't be able to go to Castle Age, or at least not as fast as BlinG can. And that is going to help immensely for our green player. It looks like the yellow archers will just now move out, accompanied by a spearman. This could be problematic for BlinG, because the scout civ usually has trouble defending against spears and archers. And I'm just noticing that not only did Winchester lose a lot of HP on his scout in Dark Age, not only did he lose 2 villagers in Dark Age, he didn't find 2 of his sheep. So really, this was one of the worst possible scenarios for Winchester in Dark Age. Really, everything went wrong, so to say. Now here come the archers, and this could be a little bit scary for BlinG, especially considering that he only has 3 scouts back at home. Idle time on Winchester's wood line thanks to the archers over here. And really, Winchester is under a lot of pressure. And let's see if Classic Pro actually falls back to help him, or we just see that army is staying there. Thing is that Hallis could bring in a couple of archers himself to fight that, and military numbers seem to be favoring Hallis and BlinG a lot more. It's double range archers with fletching. There is fletching and +1 defense for Classic Pro, but it's only single range archers. Here come the archers. BlinG will have to wall behind. He could just wall here. He doesn't have to wall all the way around. So it looks like he just needs to wall here with houses. But he just gotta be careful. Indeed, here it comes. And now the scouts are falling back. We might see a push now on Classic Pro, because remember that if the army is here, that means that Classic Pro's base is undefended, but now they will focus down on BlinG, and BlinG is gotta be careful, especially because I think there is a hole in between the barracks and the house over there. Indeed, that's the case. You still want to slow this down, and that's the first villager lost from BlinG. The pressure is heating up on him, but that's a lot of scouts from him, and he will just trade with Winchester for now. Those archers are very, very close to breaking in, and the archers from Hallis are a little bit slow catching up. The numbers are there, but that's going to be a scary push. No contingency walls for BlinG for now, but that army with the spearman support and the archers, this could be dangerous. Bloodlines is coming in for Winch, and suddenly those scouts will be a lot more dangerous. Voyager will not get picked off. This could be a good fight for BlinG though, if they take this fight before Bloodlines kicks in. They're waiting for the archers. They're waiting for the archers to arrive, but this is going to backfire because look at Winchester's scouts. It's +1/+1, and scouts running around with +1/+1 and Bloodlines versus just +1 defense on those scouts. And there's also quite a lot of archer support. Now they will jump on the wood line of BlinG, and I think BlinG is gonna fight this one. Here comes the archers. The archers here do have +1 defense. And another Voyager goes down from BlinG. They have to fight this one. They can't afford to just ignore this engagement. Heal is taken by Classic Pro and Winch. And after disaster start, they're actually slowly climbing back in this one. 36 Voyagers only now for BlinG, which is actually lower than Winchester's Voyager count. But they clean up the army. and that matters quite a bit. At the end, Bling loses 3 villagers, which is actually pretty decent for the circumstances, to be honest, because they killed all the army from Classic Pro. They still retain quite a lot of scouts, and Hallis is on the way to Castle Age as the first player. Both SalzZ members will pick up to Castle Age here. Bling is gonna have to wait a little bit more for this one, but you still gotta point out that Winchester had to make a defensive tower over here, and if they just run to this gold mine right now with the +1 defense scouts, they could potentially kill just as much as was lost from Bling. These are now Bloodline scouts with +1 as well, as Bling is going to look up as well into Castle Age. They do have Horse Color for everybody with the exception of Hallis. He's just gonna get Horse Color for his second batch of farms. And we really have to keep in mind that, yes, Bling lost 3 villagers, but you gotta consider that Classic Pro lost an awful lot of archers. He's going for range number 3, but crossbows will soon be in for Hallis. He should wait a little bit until he gets crossbow, or just try to pick off the wall from a distance. The wall is actually very, very weak. You gotta finish the walls, and now you can run inside with your scouts. And Bling is gonna have a lot of scouts here. These will be obsolete in Castle Age, so you gotta take this fight right now. I think they're waiting for a crossbowman upgrade from Hallis. So then you will jump on those archers, crossbow in 20 seconds. Nice contingency walls from a Classic Pro. I like the stone gate instead of a palisade gate, just to make sure they don't get through that. It's a little bit hard right now for Bling to find a spot where he can actually be successful with those archers, but gate foundations have been nerfed, so you could try just getting through those gates, or just run past the TC. Even if you lose 2 scouts, or you run past the TC and you hit the back of the eco with like still 6-7 Bloodline scouts, or as I said, just bash through these walls. Castle Age just now in for Classic Pro, but he still has 30 seconds until he needs to protect those archers before crossbowman hits, and this is the time. This is the time for Bling to fight that, and I'm not sure why he's not fighting that. If he actually engaged this one, he would have killed like 5, 6, 7 archers before they upgrade to crossbows. Now that's not gonna happen. Still the scouts are here for meat shield, and what's gonna happen is that the crossbows will trade each other, and in the meanwhile Classic Pro is going to start losing villagers on his wood line. And that's a good trade. I think that's a good trade for the British team. Killing quite a lot of villagers and also trading the crossbows to a decent amount of crossbows from the opponent, as Classic Pro drops down to 36 villagers over here. Wood line idled. And there is still a decent amount of crossbows here for Hallis, who is massing another army of crossbows back at home. He's only double ranges, actually now triple range, as we do have camos now coming in for Vinch. But what do camos do against archers? That's the problem. I did mention that the key and the heart and soul of this build is Hallis has some 4 villagers over here. I have no idea what these villagers were doing. Probably a misclick. But the heart and soul of playing Indians in a 2v2 is that you need your teammate to bring in archers himself. If he's unable to do that, the archers will just eat the camos, because it's free pierce armor, sure, but I mean, free pierce armor is equivalent of a +1 defense knight, but those aren't really good against crossbows. That being said, it looks like Bling is gonna be the one under pressure. Here come the knights from him, +1, +2, and remember, they suffer from less bonus damage, so the camos aren't good against the Sicilian knights as much as possible. I don't think they'd kill camos, but they definitely have a much easier time against them than other civilizations. So you still gotta be careful, but this is an excellent start for the British team. Right now they have a 6 villagers lead, and here come the crossbows to clean up the camos. Now these camos have anti-building attack bonus, so you gotta be careful with those. Crossbows right now have a +2 and Tumbling also coming in here for Hallis. That's going to be an extremely important upgrade. They take the hill, those are +2 defense and Tumbling crossbows, and here's the deal. You gotta focus down the camos if possible, because if you kill the camos, the knights can just jump on the opponent's knights over here. The crossbows lose the hill now, as the knights will attack the crossbows. I'm not sure who is actually getting out of this fight better, but I think it's slightly better for SalzZ over here. +2 defense is in for both teams. Obviously, Koreans get that for free. Still, taking out the camo numbers is extremely important. There is a triple stable production for Winchester, so that's a lot of camos coming out. And the camos can't really do much against the crossbows themselves, but they're excellent meat shield to clean them up. Still, you see that this is not cost efficient for Winchester by any means. So he lost an awful lot of camos. There is no ballistics for either arch. Actually, there is ballistics already for Classic Pro. Going for TC number 2 right now. There is already second TC for Hallis. He's got university, but no ballistics just yet. He can afford it very soon. Army numbers still looking pretty close. but there is Thumbring as well for those crossbows, and they're also cheaper to replenish than it is for the Korean crossbows. And the idea is, as I said, you just focus down the camos. You kill the camos, and you're gonna be able to open up the way for the knight. That's a disaster fight for Hallis though. He gets sandwiched in between the crossbows and the camos. That's an awful fight for Hallis, and he's losing all his crossbow numbers in this engagement. They seem to have a bit of a problem with the production over here, as the crossbows are now running short. There is another batch of crossbows being assembled here by Hallis. We'll have a couple of monks as well for BlinG. BlinG's knight numbers aren't really impressing me. It's triple stable knight production, but military numbers are now heavily in the favor of SalzZ over here. Ballistics still not in for Hallis, which actually hurts him quite badly. What hurts even more is that his teammate is getting pressured really hard, especially the gold mine. And BlinG's only reliable gold income is under pressure. This is a bit of a miscommunication between the British team right now, because Hallis is not coming to aid him. And without that help, BlinG's gold mine is open. What is happening, man? What is happening? That's a disaster. That's an absolute disaster. There goes 3 villagers, make it 4, make it 5. That's an excellent find for Classic Pro and WinG. And as I said, their team coordination is slightly better than Hallis and BlinG. They play a lot more together than the British team does. There's the crossbows coming in though, but they're actually pinned down by crossbows over here. And the numbers are much better for Classic Pro. 34 crossbows against just 26 on the field, and this gold mine being denied hurts really badly for BlinG. Now the crossbows will come in though, and once again they could clean this army up. So do not underestimate the importance of this, especially with the camos leaving, and all those archers could get cleaned up really badly. There is still a couple of camos here, but they're fairly weak, so this is a fight that you can take if you are BlinG. And once again, trading 3 or 4 villagers for potentially a huge army could be something. There's a TC coming up over here. For BlinG, extremely important for what could be a defensive castle. Thumbring just now in for those yellow crossbows, but they do get cleaned up. So once again, it is 34 crossbows against 24. Camos trying to bash their way through over here, but they will be unsuccessful. Voyager count, 9 in the favor of Winchester's team as well. TC number 4 coming in here for WinG, only 2 TCs. For Classic Pro, we'll have crossbows coming in from Hallis to try and keep these guys away for now. Hallis, however, look at this. This is something that you always have to be careful about with Mayans, that they could imp very soon. Crossbows need to pick off those camos from a distance and make sure that they don't get through the buildings. It looks like they will, because that's a very weak barracks right now. But still, it is 41 crossbows against 30. The upgrades are similar. Ballistics is now in as well for Hallis, and he wants to go into imp. He's got University, and I think a Monastery just now. He's going up to Imperial. That's going to be a long 3 minutes until he gets there. But when he gets there, it's going to be a massive advantage over the opponent, because I think Classic Pro is going to be like a minute or so behind. It looks like the camos will be heading towards Hallis' base though, and his base is dangerously open right now. It's super duper omega open, to be precise. So he's gonna have to send all the crossbows back to help out. But what you could do if you are BlinG is send these knights to the opponent's base here, like Classic Pro's base. He doesn't have anything to fight against knights himself, and it looks like Winchester and Classic Pro will retreat. I would love to see BlinG just reinforcing these walls, and it seems like the plan is that Hallis will just defend BlinG's base over here, and BlinG is gonna go towards Classic Pro. It looks like there is no overchop right now, but they could just get through the gates very easily. Still a huge army in here for Classic Pro and WinG. Fletching coming in for Winchester, interestingly. Probably for the TCs only, or potentially a castle. He's still flooding camos like a madman, and those knights will get caught off guard a little bit. Imperial Age 1 minute away. It's 40 crossbows against 54. And that early Imperial with the Arbalest could really be a nice power spike. There is going to be about a 2 minutes advantage for Hallis' team into Imperial, and look at that. BlinG is also going to click into Imperial faster than his opponent. Now you don't want fully boomed Indians, that's for sure. So you still gotta be careful about this one. But BlinG is going to click into Imperial as well. They actually take a couple of camos down here. These crossbows are surprisingly inaccurate considering that they have Thumbring and Ballistics. So 2 players in Imperial for Hallis and BlinG. BlinG loses 3 villagers over here, actually just 2, on the stone mine. But still, you just gotta keep them away. Slow them down, because Imp is here. And this is the moment where you want to wait at least 30 more seconds. So just fall back, keep retreating, because you gotta wait until Bracer kicks in. That's the fastest upgrade of all here. if you get Bracer, suddenly your advantage is going to be huge. Keep in mind that +4 defense will immediately be there for the Koreans when they reach Imperial. So now is the time to strike for Hallis+BlinG, and Hallis is sending a lot of crossbows towards Winchester's base, who doesn't have anything to defend with. So it is 30 crossbows versus 30 crossbows over here, but these are now Arbs, and they could catch this army so easily. The Camos actually try to launch a counterattack against Bling, and there's Camos pushing the base of Hallis as well. But this army being destroyed just before an Imp is a disaster for Classic Pro. It's an absolute disaster. The Knights get a good surround, Arbalest will pick them off, and on the other side, look at Winchester's eco. Look at Winchester's eco over here. This raid is actually getting pretty dangerous here, Bling down to 84 villagers, and there is also a couple of raids coming in here at the back of his base. But Classic Pro is losing a lot of crossbows, and that's going to hurt when he has to fight off these Arbs over here. Same thing over here with these Arbs. Winchester's base is under heavy pressure, and he's gonna lose quite a lot of villagers. Overall villager count still very much even. Camos can actually take down TCs here, because these are Indian Camos melting TCs. So Hallis is gonna have to clean these Camos up with his Arbs, but it looks like they will actually just push the base of Classic Pro. Classic Pro still has 30 crossbows here to defend, and he's gonna have +4 defense already. So the main concern that Hallis+BlinG are having right now is that they don't have any siege, and the mobility factor is actually better here for Winch. And they will have Cavalier for Bling in a moment. However, the numbers aren't really impressive, and more importantly, the Cavalier can't deal with the Camos. That being said, Winchester is losing a lot of Camos over here, and his eco is still being heavily breached. He's going for Light Cav, which could make sense, because Indian Light Cav actually has decent pierce armor, but it's still only 5 pierce armor, so it's not amazing. So the Arbs will take this down, and when the Indian player goes Light Cav, that's already a win, I believe, for Hallis+BlinG, because that means that the Cavalier will have an easy way eating them. In fact, if you are Bling, you send your Cavalier from the back of your base towards Winchester right now, because there is no Camos. And you see that Winch has a lot of idle time right now. His farming eco being idle is a huge problem. He's only having 29 on food working right now. Not something that you want for your Imperial Age. Cavalier in with Blade Barding, they will actually soak up some arrow fire. But it looks like it's going to be a retreat, and they will focus down the Camos. These are still Castle Age Camos. They will get the Heavy Camel upgrade in a moment, as a defensive castle comes in here for Winchester. Winchester's team is still having a better villager count at the end of the day, but now the Cavaliers jump on top of the Arbs. And remember that when there is no Camel support, the Cavalier will just eat the Arbalest. The Arbalest will have to jump into the TC, I believe, if they want to live. There is actually there is +4 defense as well for those Mayan Arbs, and they don't jump into the TC. Classic Pro is going to get all his army cleaned up over here, and there is still Arbs inside the base of Winchester. There is Arbs coming in to relieve this, but I feel like now Hallis is actually preparing another wave with potentially siege rams over here, and now the Cavalier are inside Classic Pro's base. I did mention that the clear favorites before the tournament in this one were SalzZ, but don't underestimate Hallis+BlinG. It would be a huge upset if they won, but you see that this is not gonna be a stomp, and this is, by the way, Seed 1 versus Seed 17. This TC being rushed up might lose a couple of villagers doing that, and Classic Pro is losing quite a lot of villagers overall in this one. In fact, he's down to 83 villagers. On the other side, we already have Rams coming in to push this TC. Winchester's gold mine is under pressure as well. Military numbers 92 to 61, only 17 heavy camos on the field. Classic Pro is under pressure from multiple directions, and he has 0 on gold. Classic Pro has 0 on gold right now, which means replenishing the archers is not really going to be an easy thing to do. Now the Indian Light Cav is being brought in here, but this is now standard Light Cav. So the Indian Light Cav getting the extra pierce armor only matters in Castle Age and Feudal, not in Imperial. It's standard +4 defense basically over here. The Cavalier will be able to escape, actually bashing their way through the walls. Nice unit control over there from BlinG. And it looks like he's gonna have to disengage here for now, but look at this other side. Just look at this other side. Hallis+BlinG, the UK duo, is doing this, and that's gonna be siege ram for Hallis in a moment. They're pushing Winchester away from gold. Winchester still has some gold to work with, but oh my goodness, the British team is absolutely making wonders happen here. I thought that they will have some chance in this one, especially on the more specialized maps, but holy moly, beating SalzZ and Arabia is crazy. And this is not a weak duo. This is a very, very good Classic Pro that played in many of the recent tournaments with very, very good performance. Same for Winchester. So, really, this is a very strong SalzZ team over here that's getting destroyed right now on Arabia by Hallis and BlinG. And needless to say, it would be the story of the tournament, I believe, if Hallis and BlinG actually, even if they just qualify, and especially after beating SalzZ, that would be a crazy story. So, with that, Siege Rams are now in, and they will just start absolutely annihilating those buildings. Imperial Camel soon in, but the numbers aren't really impressing me. And the Cavalry are still eating Classic Pro's army, that's the problem. Classic Pro's got 20 arbs only. So, Classic Pro is constantly under pressure. Imp Camel is in, so you still gotta be careful. But guess what? Sicilian Cavalier, they will suffer from less bonus damage, which is a nice thing. And yes, it's Imp Camel, but it doesn't actually compensate for 70 arbs on this screen. Trade is being set up, and we already have Forging coming in for Hallis. So he will start mixing in some Halberdiers here. And if those Siege Rams stay alive and the castle goes down, then there is nothing that really stops this one. So the arbs will still melt this army. I think the castle stays up for now, but the next wave could finish this one off. Infantry armor coming in for BlinG, so he might be the one teching into some Halberdiers in this one. The castle stays up for now. Conscription in for Hallis. More Siege Rams on the way as well. A defensive castle will be positioned here by BlinG. This game is not completely over. Villager count is still very, very close, but it's double the army right now. So, more Siege Rams are on the way, and Trebs are being established as well. No trade just yet for SalzZ, but they do have markets being set up. Look at the beautiful Sicilian castle over there. For BlinG and Hallis, they have a firm control over this game, I would say. Now more arbs arrive, but it's still 42 arbs only versus 82. And as I said, I'm not sure how long that castle stays up. So the thing is that he's getting pushed back more and more. He's soon out of gold, and that's going to be a problem as well. So when you run out of gold, like when everybody runs out of gold, the team with more army is obviously going to have a huge advantage. That being said, this is a nice counter raid from Winchester over here, and neither Winch nor Classic Pro is players that actually give up on this. But here's the problem. Winchester doesn't have the camo numbers. If he actually raids with the camos and the light cav, his teammate is going to get counterattacked, and look at that counterattack from BlinG. He's going to lose a couple of Cavalier, but he killed like 20 villagers. And in the meanwhile, now there is no light cav here, so this castle is under pressure quite heavily. Still, you gotta clean this one up if you're Hallis and BlinG, because you're losing quite a lot to this one. And the eco for Winch and Classic Pro is still better, so you still gotta be careful with this if you are Hallis and BlinG. You don't want to throw a game away like this. Castle versus castle over here, 2 Trebs are out. Hill is on the side of Winchester here, which is an extremely important factor. But there's so many arbs here. For Hallis, he could just dive in and snipe one of those Trebs over there with his arbs, because that would save his castle. In fact, he needs to dive in and snipe one of the Trebs. It's one of the weaker Trebs, so he just needs to send in 20 arbs, take the shot, and finish off that low HP Treb over there. And the castle will stay up for Hallis over here. Takes down the other Treb as well, I believe. So he keeps his castle alive. Winchester doing some crazy raiding now. In fact, Winchester has 4 villagers coming in here, trying to get some stables at the back of the eco, and indeed, Winchester is doing some crazy raiding over here. We got a big Cavalier clash on the right side. It looks like BlinG lost most of his Cavalier here on the right, so things are somewhat stabilizing for SalzZ, this castle being the gate to the eco of Winchester. But really, it looks like Indian camos once again are a bit of a tough nut to crack for Hallis and BlinG, because that's a lot of camos now, 30 Imperial camos on the field. And that's probably what you do not want to fight against. But here's the deal. Imperial camos, yes, they're out on the field, but you have to have a consistent production of them, and that's the problem. I think if Hallis is able to push Winchester here, Winch won't be able to replenish his camos. In fact, Winch has very, very little gold income. So, yeah, those camos are scary, but if you run out of camos, this game is over, I believe. With that, there is the Rams pushing in now, and this is where Winchester's eco is gonna be problematic. The overall eco is still way better for SalzZ, and they're doing an insane raiding here. These camos are really doing the work here, they're doing the work here as well. But you gotta consider the fact that, as I said, if Winch runs out of camos here, then that should be a game for Hallis and BlinG. Still, what a game number 1 over here, regardless of the result. The camos slowly going down, he's down to 12 camos, that's the problem. That the camos should be able to wipe Sicilians now, if they are only going for Cavalier. But if it's only light cav, Sicilians will still dominate the fight over here. And it's a huge horde of light cav though, and that's not really a lot of arbalasts for Hallis. It's only 30 arbs against the light cav horde over here. Winchester and Classic Pro not actually dying him here, and Hallis+BlinG slowly falling behind, military numbers falling apart, and maybe I have spoken too soon. Regardless of this, they played an insanely good game, but Winchester and Classic Pro are very, very hard to kill, that's for sure. They are extremely hard to kill, and if there is one thing that's different for two teams is raids. Winchester sent in so many light cav to the opponent's eco, whereas Hallis+BlinG never were really able to accomplish that. So it's right now 49 arbs versus 60 arbs, and it's only pikemen from BlinG. BlinG is out of gold currently, even though he has gold, man. Why is BlinG not making Cavalier? He's gonna make Cavalier here, or just Flood Hussar, but something has to happen, because now they are behind, and SalzZ takes over in terms of score. Eldorado Eagles would be a solution here, I believe. That's something we talked about, I think in one of the previous... In fact, in the previous set that Hallis+BlinG played. Because Indians don't have Cavalier to deal with that one. Koreans don't really have anything to deal with Eldorado Eagles as well. Obviously, you can go hand cannon, but that won't actually have the mobility to fight this one. Not necessarily a great fight over here for Hallis either. Losing the Arbalest to trash units, that's the problem here. Gold units being lost to non-gold units. And Winchester and Classic Pro are big survivors, that's for sure. So they are players that thrive at coming back into games that were seemingly lost. They're extremely hard to finish off. And now we have Arbalasts over here in the corner. These will potentially be cleaned up here by Hallis, but look at all the raids from Winch. Winch is raiding them back into the game here, as Hallis and BlinG are both still above 100 villagers, but your cavalry player being only 100 villagers isn't necessarily ideal. 30 arbs versus 60 arbs over here, and now wherever I look there is red and yellow flashing dots inside the base of Hallis+BlinG. Really, the raids from Winchester have been exceptional. That one counterattack into BlinG's base that melted TCs here at the back, killed a lot of villagers, that was the decider of this one. And it seemed like the idea was that Winchester could raid them back into the game before Hallis could finish off Winch. Because Hallis did an awful lot of damage to Winch, but he never finished him off. Winchester still has 68 villagers on food, and he would just keep spamming Hussar until eternity. And it's a heartbreaker, I have to say, for Hallis+BlinG, but also something to build on. Because you could see that they have a chance in this series. They actually have a legitimate chance in this series. They just need to play their best, and they need to... I think a lot will depend on how they play their own home maps. Because Hallis+BlinG will call game number 1 here sort of a comeback from Winchester's team, an excellent start. I'm really happy that a seed number 1 versus seed number 16 or 17 is actually playing out like this. So, Winch and Classic Pro taking game number 1 over here. Excellent game. Very, very nice macro for Winch at the end. He's just so hard to finish off. One of the best things about him. He's a big survivor, and that shows. So, with that, we are going to take a look at the draft of the players. Hallis and BlinG will now go for their home maps, and I did question their own home map selections. I don't really like Cape of Storms and Eruption for them, but one thing that is most important is that if you use your own home maps well, then you're gonna have a good shot against Winch and Classic Pro. Because one thing is sure, they played well, they just fell a little bit short, but once again, Winchester and Classic Pro are way better mechanically, so it's no shame to fall behind a little bit on Arabia. This was still massively exceeding expectations. They were close to victory, but not close enough. With that, we will have game number 2 coming in on one of the home maps of Hallis and BlinG. So we will have, let's see, Cape of Storms or Eruption. Cape of Storms is a very, very open map, so I wonder what the British team would be thinking about. And it looks like we're going to Cape of Storms, so we will have most likely Japanese being used here by Hallis+BlinG. Yes, you have to use one civ from each pool, that's the entire concept, so you don't just, you know, use your best civs all the time, and just try to avoid using your bad civs. You always use one good civ and one bad civ. That's the entire concept, so that, you know, the players are actually forced to play with some civs that they don't necessarily would do. And, so, with that, it looks like the rulebook wasn't really written or read by the players, because they believe it's actually random position, but no, it's fixed position. Welcome to Cape of Storms. We're gonna have Burmese for Winchester here in blue on the right side, and on the left side we will have Mongols for Classic Pro in green. This map is excellent for Mongols. You get a lot of hunt, you see deer patches, you have free boars for each player, so Mongols are an excellent civilization on this map, and you can also be the pocket, and that means that you can do some crazy Mongol booming, and potentially open scouts most likely, but go for relatively fast Castle Age and Flood Knights. That's probably the plan here. Other side, we're gonna have Japanese for Hallis in red. Japanese was one of the best civilizations in 2.1 in this map, but they actually used it in a pocket, because you can go for a crazy fish boom on water and then just Flood Knights from the pocket, and the pocket civilization for our warm color team will be yellow Persians. For whatever reason they flipped colors, but we'll just stick with that for now. So Bling will be the pocket Persians. Persians will be an excellent civilization here as well. The knight having an extra attack bonus against archers. Very, very good hybrid map civilization overall. And I love the effort that you even push in some deer here. You don't need to push in deer at all on this map. You can, it's absolutely doable, but you get free boars. So I appreciate that they actually take the time to push in some deer. And look at this. This is a dream for a Mongols player. You could already see the blue X on this, that, hey, there's 8 ostriches here. That's actually a very, very lucky spawn for SalzZ, because this is 2 separate patches of 4 ostriches. So if you mill here for Classic Pro with Mongols, you're gonna have 8 turkeys. That's a very, very nice position over there. Do the Tars have extra ship hill weight bonus? Yes. The hill mechanics on water work the exact same as they work on land. So hill advantage, hill disadvantage, Tatars getting a buff, that all is applicable for the water elevation as well. So with that, it looks like Classic Pro just wants to push deer, but this is definitely millable. I would think that the reason why he's not milling is because he's 5 on wood and he will go for the fishing. And if you go for fishing, you can't afford a mill to mill your deer, so you will just push them in. And indeed, here comes the Voyager for some docks. Nice dock spot over there, right next to the shorefish. Other side, you could see that we already have a blue playing on Hallis' dock. He's gonna have the Japanese fishing ships on the flank, and we'll have a dock as well for Bling in yellow. So 2 players on water versus 1 player on water, and that is going to be a super aggressive opening from Winchester. Could be a fast man-at-arms play with Burmese, because a pre-meal rush wouldn't really make that much of a sense. This is pre-meal rush timing, but I would actually disapprove that a tiny bit, because I'm not sure if Burmese is actually reasonable for that. We got a little bit of a scout scuffle over here. Winchester losing quite a lot of HP on his scout, Classic Pro, now chasing with his own scout as well. Only 6 HP left on Winchester's scout here, which hurts when it comes to helping with the drush. So Burmese get +1 attack when they reach feudal age on their infantry, which means that their man-at-arms opening is pretty strong, but their drush is actually somewhat underwhelming, and it looks like it's gonna be a 2 militia drush here. Excellent find for Hallis once again. Takes down 1 scout. Once again, that's going to be quite problematic, because that scout would have helped blocking Voyagers with the drush. We'll see if the drush is actually just aimed at killing hunt or so. Especially the passive hunt over here. We'll have loom coming in for Bling, and we got no loom just yet for Hallis. Brings in this boar over here. The boar is gonna have a bit of a tough time getting through those wood lines, I believe. These are also rhinos, and rhinos attack faster than boars, so they're a little bit more dangerous to bring in. Here come the archers. What archers? They're just villagers with bows. Imagine if you could actually make villagers with bows into archers. That would be an interesting concept. So here's the Drush, but they aren't really accomplishing much so far. They will probably kill the Huntables, but that's basically all. Anyways, it looks like Vinch also goes for a dock. That means everybody's gonna be on the water. And the first feudal will be BlinG by a massive margin, in fact. This villager is in a bit of a trouble over here, but she does have Loom. Nice team coordination, by the way, between Vinch and Classic Pro, using Classic Pro Scout to block the villager, and that's gonna be a dead villager, I believe. Oh no! Was so close for Hallis. He actually killed the Scout. It was a freeway into the TC, but that's -1 villager for our red player. Luckily for him, he's got Japanese fishing, which actually helps quite a bit with the getter rate. So first feudal is gonna be BlinG at the same time as his opponent Classic Pro, who's going for Mongol Fire Galleys over here. Other side, it looks like we only have one dock for BlinG, and he's not going for any combat ships. No second dock either for Hallis. So it seems like they're not really contesting water, and they will go a land-focused approach. Japanese man-at-arms will come in here. So it's gonna be a man-at-arms opening after all for a Japanese player, and it looks like a third militia is being added by Vinch. So at the end of the day, we might just see an upgrade to men-at-arms, and then you would have the extra attack on the Burmese men-at-arms over there. Other side will have most likely scouts from BlinG already coming in indeed. This could be troublesome for Classic Pro and Vinch, because they will actually start pushing water, but on land they will fall behind. And it takes some time until that water control starts to materialize, especially because Hallis and BlinG can make fire ships here to defend, and it takes so much time to get from your base to the opponent's fishing eco. So if you lose these first two fire galleys, for Classic Pro, it's going to take forever for you to get there. 5 men-at-arms even for Winchester, so he does mean business here. No men-at-arms upgrade just yet for him, but he's up to feudal. Men-at-arms, that was a bit of a miss micro over there from Hallis. Will cost most of the HP of the Scout and some on the men-at-arms. Still no men-at-arms upgrade for Vinch, even though he's actually close to 40. And here's the men-at-arms, and this could be an awful scenario for Hallis. Nice quick wars, nice quick wars. Those are beautiful quick wars over there. And now the militias will actually run towards the TC and then turn back. This is actually logged out, so you could make a house here and prevent those men-at-arms from getting in, but those are going to be scary. Those have +1 attack as well on those, so you gotta be careful with this. It looks like the men-at-arms will just attack the lumber camp, and you see that the first fire guys will just reach Hallis. He's not making any ships right now, neither is BlinG, but that means that it's 2 versus 1 on land right now. There's only a couple of men-at-arms over here from Vinch, but those could still find nice value overall on potentially the woodlands. The woodlands are generally very open on this map, and the scouts struggle to clean up men-at-arms quite badly. So it's going to be very challenging to clean this up. You need archers to do this, but Hallis doesn't have a single archer right now over here. We will have BlinG doing some harassment on the wood line of Vinch, and this could be an excellent find though. 3 villagers from Classic Pro could go down to these scouts. Indeed. Okay, BlinG. It looks like he's going to focus down the 1 villager from Vinch. Unsuccessful at getting the kill, and these men-at-arms are getting dangerously close to the wood line. Fire Galley is now burning the fishing eco of Hallis, and this is looking way better for SalzZ. This is looking way better because they're winning the water. There's a spearman here to defend, but men-at-arms will just make a quick work of that. First villager goes down from a Classic Pro. Nice micro from Classic Pro poking down that scout over there. Still, that should be 3 villagers lost from our green player. But on the other side, there's gonna be at least 1 being killed here. Or not. 1 survives. 1 archer over here trying to make sure that those men-at-arms won't do much. 65 eco versus 67, so some of the fishing eco for BlinG's team is still alive, but they don't really have any water control right now. Men-at-arms bashing down the barracks isn't really something important, and Vinch should have no trouble cleaning this one up. The question is the position of the scouts. Many of those scouts are weak, but they will still find the villager kill. So the value has been there, and now the archer, the lonely archer, will try to clean up this horde of men-at-arms, joined by 4 buddies over here. You gotta still be careful with those villagers on those hunt, because those Burmese men-at-arms mean business. So eventually the Mantrams will go down without killing any additional villagers. They will focus down the huntables now. You see that Vinci is just going to take away whatever he can with that. Still, there is a couple of scouts over here for BlinG, and we shouldn't underestimate the fact that BlinG's food count is looking extremely good. Very low on gold right now, he is. But first to Castle Age could be a huge power spike here, especially with Persians that even have attack bonus against archers. So he could have a very, very easy time cleaning up archers if that's the situation. You got the scouts now coming in for a Classic Pro, as villagers on the gold mine will be heavily exposed. That Palisade actually hurts more than it helps, to be honest, because 3 villagers are safe but the rest of them aren't, and they just bump into it all the time. BlinG picks off another villager, now 13 on gold, so he really wants to get up to castle fast here, and he will. That's going to be the fastest castle by all means. So galleys slowly taking down Hallis' fishing eco, but it's only a 4 villagers differential, and now they're pushing Winchester's wood eco. This is always a tricky situation on this map. If you invest too few on the water, then you will just fall behind in fishing eco. If you invest too much, you will fall behind in land army, and that's the situation right now for Winchester and Classic Pro. There weren't really any scouts from Classic Pro up until now, and they will pay the price because they were outnumbered on land quite heavily. +1 defense will come in for those scouts, but it's going to be a little bit of an early fight for them. Loses 1 scout and a lot of HP on the other before +1 defense would come in. And there is Castle Age for BlinG, by far the fastest player to go up. We got fletching and +1 defense for Vinch here, just fletching for Hallis, and these scouts don't really have any upgrades on them right now either. So, oh, nice find, beautiful find from BlinG once again. Picks off another villager from our blue player. 1 archer also gets picked off from the range. Beautiful unit control from BlinG, by the way. Excellent play overall. And here come the archers. Once again, they could intercept these scouts. +1 defense in for BlinG in a moment. He picks off the spearman. And then he's gonna push the wood line. And Hallis and BlinG are really meaning business. And it looks like we also have a couple of fire galleys here from Hallis, pushing the fishing eco of SalzZ. The archers here will be cleaned up, but if you look at the right side, it's starting to start falling apart for Vinch. He's down to 36 villagers, make it maybe even 35. And the water is gonna be cleaned up as well. Classic Pro and Vinch still has a reasonable fishing eco, especially Classic Pro. But Castle Age for BlinG, and that's going to result in a potential Night Flood. Let's see, double or triple stables? Only double stables currently. +2 defense just now coming in. But those knights will start being very devastating towards Winchester. He will at least have the +1 attack on those spearmen, which helps a little bit, slowing them down. But look at this. We have Classic Pro on the way to Castle Age, but we'll have Hallis as well clicking up slightly faster than Winchester will. And these scouts can now hit Classic Pro, who's forced to make a defensive tower on the gold mine. It appears that he actually starts walling himself up on the north, getting a couple of outposts to make sure that he's not gonna get flanked. Castle Age in for Hallis. On the way to Castle Age will be Winchester as well very soon. Scouts picking off another villager over here, and really, Hallis and BlinG massively exceed expectations over here with their gameplay. Their Arabia game was very nice, but this game is also exceptionally good from them, as now the knights will actually start hitting the wood line. That could be another villager picked off. Bloodlines +1/+1 for the scouts of Classic Pro, and Bloodlines +2 defense, but no attack upgrades for BlinG's scouts. Still, Winchester is down to 35 villagers, and he will keep losing villagers in this one to the knights. First to knight is a massive advantage in this map, and that's, oh my goodness, a lot of villagers done once again. You gotta wonder if Winchester is gonna have enough eco to make anything when he reaches Castle Age. And yes, there's gonna be camels, but there will be quite a lot of archers on the field. It's 20 archers against 6. Camels are out, sure, for Classic Pro, but these guys only have 1 pierce armor, so the archers will take them down relatively easily. And there is no gold income right now for Vinch. He's down to 27 villagers. He still has some fishing eco, that's a nice thing, but that's basically all the positives I can say about this one. Second TC coming in for Classic Pro. And this. Now the question becomes, how do you finish off Winchester though? Because that's what Hallis and BlinG struggled with in the previous set, or the previous game. Finishing off the opponent. They have a very, very nice lead, but they're gonna finish the opponent off. And that's very, very hard on this map, because pretty much Winchester, if he just dies slowly, he's going to allow Classic Pro to boom up. we'll see. Classic Pro is not on stone, so a defensive castle is not really an option anytime soon. Crossbow is in though. Crossbows will be in as well for Winchester in this one. But that is still 23 crossbows against merely 8, and very dubious gold income right now for Vinch. 8 on food, 4 on gold only. His wood income is alright at least, but that's all the positives I can say about this one. 94 villagers against 78, and I feel like now the best way to finish this game is just head towards Classic Pro. Because Winchester can't really help. He also needs to move his crossbows to open field, and the knights with the +2 attack against archers could just intercept them very easily. So that would also be a nice move. In fact, this is the moment to strike for those knights. Let's see if BlinG sees them. BlinG doesn't know, and that's one of the reasons why he didn't jump on those. Still, some idle time will be forced on Classic Pro's eco, and it looks like we'll still have a double stable play here from our yellow player. If he actually messes up some knights, he can just try to take down a TC at some point. For now, that's not gonna be the case. Ballistics in for Hallis. And he will just try to knife food eco as much as possible. Here, knights will still try to raid Winchester's wood eco as much as possible. And Winch still doesn't have a reliable gold income, tries to get a TC up on his gold. Those crossbows are a little bit mispositioned, and that's quite a lot of scary knights with +1, +2. But there is quite a lot as well from BlinG, so now the meat shield is back. And that could be a TC that ends up being a disaster. Thumbring is now coming in as well. As there is one more villager going down, make it 2. Winchester is at 32 villagers, man. He's just dead. 3 TCs will be up for BlinG. It looks like we have a 1 TC play for Hallis for now. But as long as Winchester is denied from gold, that's a disaster. He finally finds another gold mine for himself, but still his villager count is far from being impressive. And I feel like we might just get to a stage where Hallis and BlinG simply outbooms their opponent. Because at this stage, they can just keep booming. 114 villagers against 98. You also got Persian TCs working for you. I think if Hallis actually starts adding TC number 2 and 3, they should be good to go. It looks like it's going to be a forward workshop though, as the knights will try jumping on the crossbows now. Big clash coming in here, but this is once again a good fight, I think, for Hallis and BlinG. Their knights are slightly weaker, they don't have +1 attack. Is that actually a good fight? Is that actually a good fight? What happened to all those crossbows? Holy smokes. I might have overestimated the quality of Hallis' army over here, because suddenly they fall behind in numbers, or at least here on this front line. There's reinforcements coming in, so it's not the end of the world, but that for sure wasn't pretty. With that, once the knights are gone from Classic Pro, the knights of BlinG is just going to absolutely melt those archers. At least the TC goes up for Winch, and that's what matters. But there's already a siege workshop, and you could make a case for a ram here for the TC, or it could be mangonels as well. So with that, Winchester back to 43 villagers. Hallis needs to add at least 1 more TC, and he's doing so, because his villager count wasn't really impressive so far. He didn't lose villagers, but at the end of the day, if you stay 1 TC and your opponent is gonna be on 3, then you will still get outboomed. So you still gotta be careful with this one for BlinG and Hallis, because they have the lead. They have a very, not necessarily decisive lead, but a very strong lead right now. But they don't want to throw away this game, because this is an extremely important game for them. It's their own home map, they have a lead, this should be a win for them. Still, it looks like Classic Pro is actually playing with the triple stables. I think BlinG is only playing 2, that's why they're getting outnumbered cavalry-wise. Now it's gonna be 4 stables though. So that's going to start turning things around once again. You could think about starting to mine stone and dropping a forward castle instead in the face of Winchester, because that would be a very good way of at least getting rid of one of these TCs. Now it's the first mangonel out. No siege workshop just yet for Vinch, so I think they will just use the knights to dive in on the mangonel. A bit of a miss micro over there from Hallis. Still, TC under pressure. Knights will jump on the range, and I think these knights will just dive in from the north to try and snipe that mangonel. They gotta snipe the mango. They can't let this TC go down, because Winchester is already on the back foot. He's slowly rebooming, by the way. Look at this. Winch 58 villagers, Hallis 66. So as I said, Hallis and BlinG gotta be careful with this one. Nice ground attack over there. Because if they aren't careful enough, once again, they will just struggle to close the game out, and Vinch and the Classic Pro will take over. A bit of a miss micro with the Mangonel, ends up being a disaster as the Mango gets picked off. I don't think that you can actually finish this game off with just Mangonels here. There's too many Knights on the field for Classic Pro for that. You either need to like have 5-6 stables production now for Bling and just overrun them with the Persian Knights, or you need a castle here front. No one is mining stone, so it's gotta be Knights production right now for a Bling. Nice little engagement over here for Hallis' team though. They pick off quite a lot of Knights, and these crossbows also have Tumbling and ballistics, so they're actually fairly formidable. Bit of a miss micro over there, once again from Bling, leaving the crossbows open. Still, the only thing that keeps Winchester and Classic Pro in game is their fishing eco, but that's a fairly good fishing eco overall. Gilden's just now coming in for Classic Pro. 50 to 29 military, 94 villagers for Bling, but look at this, 90 as well for Classic Pro. Still 13 villagers lead for Hallis compared to Winchester, but does that matter that much? 13 villagers is nice, but it's not a decisive lead anymore. So now the Knights will actually jump on the TC though, and remember, these get bonus damage against archers. Now it's +1 attack as well, and I think this is the time where they commit. Numbers suddenly becoming a lot better, and they will just commit to this fight. And when the Knights go down, the Yellow Knights will just overrun the crossbows over there, and it looks like, I think these Yellow Knights could just finish off that TC. Not necessarily the most ideal fight for Hallis and Bling, especially with the second TC supporting, but Winchester has a lot of idle time because of this one. He's like at 20-ish idles, because he needs to garrison 2 TCs to keep these alive. And still, the Mangonels are a little bit mispositioned. Winchester has to commit a lot to repair these, and now the Knights will actually jump on potentially Classic Pro's wood line. Still, the decisive thing is gonna be this. It is going to be Imperial Age for Bling in a matter of moments. Obviously, that's going to take some time until he gets there, but we also gotta consider that Mongols will have a very hard tech switch to do now. Like, Mongol Knights are alright, but obviously don't want to continue Cavalier in Imperial. They want to go Mangadai, but that is a very hard and long tech switch to do, and Persians will have their window until they can actually finish this game off with their Cavalier. Not necessarily the most ideal fight once again for Bling. He was inside the TC fire as well, and his Knight numbers aren't impressing me. Classic Pro is doing the job with the Knight numbers. The problem is that Classic Pro is spending all his resources on those Knights, whereas Bling and Hallis were both able to afford Imperial. So now it's going to start turning into a situation of, okay, we just need to make sure we don't die until we reach Imperial, get Cavalier, get Arbalest, and then just go for a couple of rams, maybe a castle, and some trebs. You will have to start thinking about on the northern part of the map, where the stone is at. One of the reasons why you don't have a castle right now is because most of the stone is on the north, so you have to move out for that. And in late game, the northern part of the map holds the majority of the gold, which is extremely important as well. So you gotta start expanding towards that if you're Bling and Hallis. Hallis is sending 10 on stone, so he's gonna be the forward castle person. So, still, Knights on the field for a Bling. He could afford +2 attack, and he should afford that, because, well, he needs every bit of an edge that he has against those Knights. 25 seconds away from Imperial he is, and that's where the scary part begins. I think they could withdraw for a moment, just to make sure that they get the upgrades before any fighting occurs. Ballistics just now in for Winchester. He's got +1 defense, his opponent has +2 and Tumbling, and I feel like this is not a good enough fight for SalzZ in this one. And indeed, the Knight numbers just absolutely vanish for Classic Pro. 61 army versus 224, and Winchester's team calls the GG. What was a failure in the previous game for Hallis and Bling closing the game out is going to be a success. And once again, Seed 1 versus Seed 16. Hallis and Bling are massively exceeding expectations right now. Their unit control is nice. They're not flashy by any means, but they're very solid and consistent players. I was questioning this map pick for them, to be honest, because I think that Winch and Classic Pro are mechanically better players, so an open map like that would actually favor them. But the game plan was decent for Hallis and Bling, even though they lost water. They doubled Winchester on land, and I think that the fuel age unit control was what mattered. The way that BlinG was able to pick off villagers left and right with multiple groups of scouts, they were always able to find villagers. And at the end, Winchester fell so much behind that they just got outnumbered in every fight that they had to take. So with that, Winch and Classic Pro even terms against Hallis+BlinG. Oh man, what a series to start the day with, and we have 3 more today. With that, we're gonna have Vikings, Khmer, Spanish remaining. Completely ignore the fact that this is the wrong draft. Overlays! What is happening to my overlays? Okay, now it's back. Don't worry. Don't worry, it's not Doubt A versus Doubt B. Overlays are back. So, with that, we have Spanish, Ethiopians, Franks remaining. We're going to Forest Pond or Regicide Fortress. And other side we'll have Italians, Tatars, and Bulgarians remaining from the pool 1. What is your SIF for Regi Fortress here? That's the main question. We're going to Regicide Fortress in game number 3. By the way, I would like to point out that the team name they chose was Hallis+BlinG. So far, it's not Hallis carrying. It's a very, very good team synergy. And both players are actually contributing to this win fairly equally, I would say. With that, we're going into game number 3 over here. Welcome to Regicide Fortress. We are gonna have Hallis+BlinG in yellow and red. Hallis will be playing with Spanish on the south in red, and we're gonna have on the right yellow for Turks for BlinG. On the north we'll have Classic Pro as Cumans in green, and lastly Bulgarians for Winchester in blue. This is an interesting combination of civilizations, I have to say, because you don't really have a clear archer civ unless you go Kipchak with Cumans, which could be possible, but I'm not sure if I like the Kipchak plus Stirrups Cavalier combo here. It might be an infantry siege approach from Winch. Keep in mind that Winchester and Classic Pro are both very, very experienced arena players, so closed maps are their home field, so to say. And from what we have seen, it actually helps them that they don't lose villagers in feudal, because that's the disaster that struck them in both of the games so far. Spanish for Hallis in red, he's probably going to be the cavalry civ. Turks, I think in 2 pools 1 they were mostly used as a camel civ on Regicide Fortress. Here you will be using Janissaries to open most likely, but then most likely Cav Archers is your play. And honestly, Spanish and Turks on this map is something I like more than Bulgarians and Cumans. Spanish with the trade, this could be a long game, and Spanish trade could be extremely helpful for that. Spanish Paladins are perfectly fine, and Turkish Cav Archers are extremely good as well. I feel like that's a better combination than Bulgarians and Cumans. That being said, this tower, or this map doesn't have towers, which means that the Janissaries, Conquistadors, Kipchak have a much better chance of doing damage early on, especially Janissaries, because the Janissaries have 8 range that helps quite a lot when it comes to just camping these walls and denying wood lines potentially. So with that, we're going to have Winchester luring in the board with the scout. You can definitely do that over here, because you can jump into the castle and heat up, and that's an omega fast feudal over here from Classic Pro. Look at that. 50 in a villager's feudal on Regi Fortress. He pretty much clicked up immediately after the game started, and obviously he just wants that fast second TC over here on the gold and on the wood. That's a nice TC spot. Grabs Horse Color and Boso, not Boso, it's Double Bit Axe. So 2 TCs, eco upgrades, that's actually a very, very nice start for him. Fuel Age is coming in for Winchester as well, somewhat more surprisingly. He's not gonna go to Castle Age straight away, which raises the question of maybe Fuel Age into eco upgrades and then just a boom into Castle Age type of scenario. He only has... Actually, he might have the food for this. He might have the food for this, 450 right now, and he's still 60% away. That boar still has 40 food on it, which is reasonable. You got 7 farms and still the berries. Berries only hold 4 villagers, but that is going to be a tight but possible fast castle for Winch. He's low on gold though. He did go for... No, he didn't go for loom. In that case, he's very, very low on gold right now. So if he wants to go straight into Castle Age, he's going to have to add 2 more villagers on gold. At the same time, Hallis coming in as well. That's going to be a fairly clean Castle Age for him. And Bling is going up 1 villager later, but still should be good to go very soon. Indeed, Winchester could just sell some stone because he has cheaper stone cost on his town centers, so he doesn't need 200 stone immediately. Let's see, it's going to be probably market and maybe stable for him. Or just no building, market. And it will be blacksmith at some point. The question is where? He does have the resources for that, so I'm not sure why he's not building it. If it's a stable, he wants to go for the relics. If it's a blacksmith, he just wants to sit back and boom. But where's the second building at? Am I blind? Winchester won't afford Castle Age here. As I said, that gold count was a little low unless he sells some stone. But where's the second building, man? Here. Totally professional caster. Don't mind it. Don't mind it. I like these walls. They're a little bit dangerous though, because you send out a villager without loom, and there is scouts hunting for villagers over here. No worries, you will actually be able to wall this one off. This is going to be annoying for trade though, so you'll have to delete those later. Still, Winchester is going to wall off this corner just to make sure that he can secure this one later for trade, and nothing will surprise him. Have I mentioned that sending out villagers without loom is a suicide? Well, luckily for him, Bling doesn't really care and he just passes that villager. He could still find this girl over here, so it could very be possible to pick off one villager, but Winchester can be happy that this villager isn't dead, and Bling just notices there is houses there, but at the end, by the time Bling notices that, he doesn't really want to turn back. Scout war over here. Every HP that Winchester can take away from Bling helps here, because Bling is gonna have light cav when he reaches Castle Age. He's gonna be Turks. With that, kings are all inside castles, and also some of the scouts are being healed up as well. And we will have a bit of a stone being mined over here from Bling. Apparently he sold 100 stone to go up as well. So he's gonna send 2 to stone to get some stone mining done. Castle Age is in. For Hallis goes for TC number 2 inside. And nothing else, so no conquistadors. I don't think conquistadors here is necessary when you have a Turkish teammate. If anyone, it's gonna be the Janissary. Getting the attention. Now here's the deal. That's a nice light cap you got in there. Guess what? You're trapped. Because Winchester walled off the entire corner, so this light cap will forever remain here. This hurts quite a bit because this would have been a very useful light cap to snipe monks. So this one being trapped actually hurts quite badly. Winchester trying to quick wall against the wolf. He doesn't have loom. He doesn't have loom, but he is Winchester, so he's gonna be fine. He's gonna have to bring in a scout to help that villager out. Look at Ornlu just staring down this villager. And right now this will is like, hey, someone wants to help? Maybe? Anyone? The scout will actually come in and kill that wolf. Not really a big deal. It's a matter of some idle talent that will. Alright, free TCs coming in here for Hallis. Free TCs as well for Bling. No Janissaries here either, so it might be straight CA play from them. Relic distribution is fairly even. The real question is these 2 relics over here. And indeed, the scout now comes in, kills the wolf, so the villager is gonna be able to go back. So, with that, Winch will be nice and comfy on free TCs. He doesn't really have the food eco to make all 3 of those work, so it's not necessarily ideal. An early loom comes in here for Classic Pro. Right now they have a 10 villagers lead, thanks to the fact that Classic Pro was on 2 TCs booming, but he's just reaching Castle Age. So that's probably going to be more like an 8-9 villagers lead. By the time he reaches Castle Age, and by the time he gets a third TC up, his opponents will have comparable villager count. You see he's 45 right now. By the time he reaches Castle Age, his opponents will be something like 42, 43. So at the end, it's going to matter because in terms of overall resources gathered, that's an advantage for Classic Pro. If you take a look at this, so Eco, you see Classic Pro is at 6.8k resources, everyone else is at like 5.5. So that's like 1,500 extra resources, which helps an awful lot. In fact, He could even go into Imperial with those resources very soon, if he wanted to. I don't think it's a good idea. He probably just wants to add the third TC. But you can always think about that, because you have a castle, so you don't need buildings. You can just go straight up to Imperial if you want to. And Classic Pro, is he actually thinking about it? He is thinking about it. That's Imp. That's going to be a fairly early Imp for him. And it soon will be a Kipchak play. This is going to be a full clown play, by the way. What he is going to do, as you see, he's 6 on stone. This is going to be a faster Imperial here with the 2 TC boom. And he will probably drop a forward castle. He's going to make a couple of Kipchak to secure map control, drop a forward castle, and make trebs. And it's basically going to be a treb and Kipchak play for him. The beautiful thing about this fast Imp is that his eco isn't necessarily weak behind this one. So it's a 50 villager eco. This is a very, very nice and clean build from him. Apparently we have a couple of conquistadors coming in here for Hallis for mainly scouting purposes. It looks like the scout was already picked off. And there is the 4th villager from Classic Pro already. He bumped into a wolf. That's the corpse of a wolf over there that was killed by the villager. And the conquistador could be looking for this guy, but he's not going to find it. So with that, we're gonna have a couple more Kipchak coming out here. Botkin is in, +1 defense comes in. The big thing missing will be Bloodlines, although it really depends on how many Conquistadors there are defending. Conquistadors aren't particularly good at sniping trebs, so if you land a forward castle here, and here comes the castle, on the hill, and one thing that you have to be very careful about is that the king is inside this castle. So if the castle is set on fire, and the king is going to jump out, it's going to go to the rally point of this castle, which could be in the middle of the field, because there were Conquistadors produced. So this is a very, very nice and clean build for Classic Pro. Oftentimes with fast team, the problem is that your eco is weak, but once again, if you look at the stats, his eco is actually the strongest currently in the game. He still has 1000 resource advantage compared to everyone, and he's Imperial. That's a crazy build here from Classic Pro with Kumans. Really well done. There is the castle. A little bit late, to be honest, because this castle ideally should be up by the time you arrive to him, so you can start making traps immediately. But still, we're gonna have 3 TCs for Bling, and this is the time where they're realizing, oh shoot, we're in trouble, man. We're in big trouble. You see, Hallis is going for Bloodlines, he's going for Loom. He's making Conquistadors because he's seeing the Kipchaks, but what is he going to do against Trebs? Imperial Age will be coming in for Blink soon, as Classic Pro is outposting his opponent over here to see if there is reinforcements coming in to help. So, Imperial Age will be in for Bling, which could help quite a bit. Hallis is nowhere close to clicking him. That's a massive problem, because he will have no chance stopping traps. In fact, if you are Classic Pro, you should bring in a trap from this castle as well. There's a trap already, but he didn't ungarrison it. Here it comes. We'll have a scale barding as well for Winchester, so they will double down on Hallis, and that's how you match up these civs. Kipchak and Cavalry is something I don't like as much as I like Cav Archer and Paladin. However, if there is no army for Hallis, they breach the walls, they take down the castle, and Winchester will just overrun him with knights. This is a very, very arena-esque gameplay over here that we're seeing, but Winchester, sort of the arena mastermind over here, as you see the king right now is inside the town center over here, evacuating from the castle. What you have to do in this situation is set the gather point of your king building to another garrisonable building, like a TC, or a tower, or a castle. In case you evacuate, you actually run immediately there instead of just sitting there. So, second trap is out. Hallis is getting close to imping. Here is the problem though. Which TC would you use for imping? Probably this one, right? But are you sure this stays up for 3 more minutes? I'm not so sure. I mean, even this scout is doing some damage to Hallis over here. I feel like Winchester and Classic Pro are playing this one very, very clean. And they are currently punishing their opponent quite heavily. We might actually look back at the Arabia game and say, oh boy, that's something that hurts so badly for the British team, because they were close to winning Arabia, and if you overall add up the games, it would be a 2-1 for them with that. Now it's gonna be a 2-1 for Winchester's team, and here come the Kipchak. There's a couple of Conquistadors trying to help out defending. Imperial Age is on the way. Oh boy. This TC, I'm not sure if this stays up until Imperial. 40% in. We have heavy CA coming in for BlinG though. And that's not something that you should underestimate. You have a castle already, so you can go Sipahis immediately. The numbers are the problem right now. This all depends on how much you can slow down Classic Pro. Right now, Hallis' eco is just an absolute piece of junk. Another castle comes in here from Classic Pro. The king currently is residing inside this TC, which is the Imp TC as well. Kipchak now diving in. Cav Archers coming in. They do have reasonable upgrades on them. No Sipahis just yet. Knights trickling in from Winchester with a +2 defense. Another TC goes down. This is the most important TC. If there is Imp, maybe you can get a castle up. You don't have the stone for it though. But you need Imp in case you want to make traps from a castle that currently isn't existing. But this is looking really, really rough for Hallis right now. Because the thing is that behind this one, Winchester has like a 10 TC boom, most likely. It's just free right now, but you see that the overall ecos are now way better for Winchester's team. Kipchak picking off villagers left and right. These Cav Archers might need to move in here, man. Hello? Hallis up to Imperial, congratulations. And he's just going to keep losing his TCs. He's got nowhere to go soon. He's got nowhere to go. Stirrups now coming in for Vinch. He is on the way to Imperial, and he will just soon flood the map with Stirrups Cavalier. Hallis is down to 66 villagers. This game is just Omega over a very clean build from Classic Pro. I loved it. So, Cavalier now on the way for Hallis. Problem is that he doesn't have eco to mass Cavalier. He's got 8 on food and 8 food in the bank. So, it turns into a 1v2. And this was an excellent game from Vinch and Classic Pro. You can tell that this build order was something that they prepared for and practiced, because this was a very, very clean build from Classic Pro. This 2TC into fast Imperial, castle drop, and then Trebs and Kipchak. I feel like this Cav Archer push is too late now for BlinG, because he will be 1 versus 2, and he will just get overrun by Cavalier here. And you see that Hallis is down to 70 villagers, and Classic Pro is up to 88. It's not completely impossible to Britons to turn this one around, but it would take a big miracle to turn this around. Sipahi now in alongside Bloodlines for those Cav Archers. They will still be sturdy, but look at this on the right side now. I feel like Winchester could actually start going for a couple of rams here as well. Turns towards Cavalier, and look at this. The blue ping on the map shows where the farming eco is for Hallis, so they just can't go for more food eco. So those are now fairly sturdy Cav Archers. They will be 100 HP with Bloodlines. But the biggest problem indeed is that Hallis is just unable to get any resources for himself. And with that, Winchester's team takes over game number 3 in a fairly decisive way. Beautiful build order from Winch and Classic Pro, I have to say. It was an excellent build. Alright, so with that, we got SalzZ with the match point. One thing is sure, BlinG and Hallis are making them run for their money. And now it's a heartbreaker that they lost Arabia, because they were so close to actually leading this series. But now it's match point for SalzZ. It's not over just yet, but we're going to Eruption, which is the final home map of Hallis and BlinG. Ethiopians, Teutons, Portuguese, Franks remaining for them. Italians, Tatars, Aztecs, Burgundians there. I would think this is the time where you pull the trigger on Tatars and Burgundians, and you will use Aztecs and Italians on Forest Pond if you need. Because if there is one map where Eagle Warriors are somewhat legitimate in 2v2, or potentially even a Monk and Siege push, is Forest Pond. So I would think you save Aztecs for that and go for Italians as the other civ. So Tatars, Burgundians should be the civs. Other side, it's probably Franks and maybe Portuguese, and then you go Teutons, Ethiopians, although Portuguese will be better from Forest Pond. But if you go for Portuguese on Forest Pond, you gotta go Ethiopians here, and that means you go Teutons here, which, well, not necessarily ideal for a fairly open map. With that, we'll jump into game number 4, and we're going to Eruption for what it looks like it's going to be an Aztecs play after all for Classic Pro and Winchester. Interesting. Not a bad civ for Eruption, but I would have expected that for Forest Pond. So with that, Hallis and BlinG will be playing Portuguese and Franks on the right side. Fairly clear roles for both of the players. It's going to be a cavalry civ for BlinG's yellow, Franks. And on the other side, we're going to have Hallis with Portuguese in red. We'll have Classic Pro playing Aztecs in green and Tatars for Winchester in blue. So it's probably going to be knight into Keshik then. Because the Tatars player can't really go for archers. In this situation, they gotta go for Keshik, and then the Aztec player goes archers. But I don't really like this, to be honest. I feel like Tatars will just be a better archer civ on eruption with all these elevation and the cav archers. Aztecs are kind of a meh with their archers. So you could say, hey, they can go eagles, but eagles against Franks doesn't seem like a good choice either. So with that, we're gonna have our cold color team on the left, Winchester and Classic Pro. Right side is gonna be Hallis and BlinG. The third player in the SalzZ team is Dark, but apparently he's not playing any games today, so it's only his teammates taking this set. We're gonna have a fairly volable base here for Hallis. The north is a little bit open, but this gold is okay-ish. Wood lines, workable, relatively volable map for him. You got an absolutely disastrous map for BlinG, to be honest. This is a very, very open front. Left side is quite open as well. It's volable, but not an easy wall off. Over here, left side is quite open for Winch as well, but Winch can wall anything if he wants to. On the other side, we will have a Classic Pro with quite front berries close to the hill himself. Other than that, it's a fairly defendable base for him. Double backboards will be coming in. So 4 on wood for Classic Pro. Indeed, he's gonna be the archers player, and that means that we're going to have probably an FC here from Winchester, because he's also 4 on wood. Unless Winchester goes for archers as well, and we see a double archer play. This seems like a fast castle from Winch on this map. Winchester and Classic Pro both played Red Bull, so they're fairly familiar with this map, although they haven't really played it with random map setting. In fact, no one played this with random map setting. This was made for Red Bull Volo for Empire Wars start, and not for random map, so the meta is still unfigured. There is a lot of hunt over here, but it seems like players aren't really willing to move out for that just yet. So, Mail coming in here right now for Winch. First board is already in. Longer lasting sheep with Tatars helps quite a lot with the fast castle, especially when you don't have pushable deer. So, the fact that you can push in deer, well, you can, but it takes quite a lot of time, so you won't push in 3-4 deer like you could in Arabia, for example, or Arena. So longer lasting sheep actually helps quite a lot, especially if it's actually cows. Let's not talk about this one. So, capture age, what is that? What have you done with those cows? Oh, look at those poor cows being all super duper blue. Aww. Feels bad. They're actually, I want to check. Wait a second. Oh, they're yellow cows now. We have red cows. I wonder if that applies to sheep as well, or this is just the changing color. We could also do something like this. So we got red, yellow, and blue cows. And indeed, wait a second. I don't like changing colors, but temporarily, here's the Milka cows for whoever requested that. So, with this snowy scenery here in Switzerland, here is your Milka cows. Alright. So, what I wanted to point out is that longer lasting sheep is nice, especially if you have cows. Because you start with 6 cows, it might even be 7. Regardless of that, 6 cows is 900 food, whereas 8 sheep that you would normally start with is 800. So you even have more food from your herdables as well. Helps with a fast castle as well. If Winchester wants to go for that, but it looks like Winch actually doesn't want to go FC. He just went 4 on wood because he wants some early walls. Indeed, I forgot to mention that Milka is not sponsoring this stream, but now that I did a shout out to them with the purple cows, they better send some money. So, 6 cows is actually better than 8 sheep arenos. We got an early loom coming in here for BlinG, and that means that he's actually going to play... That's a late feudal for scouts. It's a very late feudal with 23 Voyagers for scouts. Which raises the question of what are you exactly going to do. There is going to be a apparently a Drush FC coming in here from Classic Pro, not clicking up just yet. And it looks like he is only 2 militias, so this is a 2 militia Drush, just like Winchester did on the Cape of Storms map. And BlinG is already adding some farms. That's an even more interesting decision. He went for Loom, but it looks like he's actually playing Fast Castle over here. He isn't finished with the wars, but that's the reason why he went Loom. He wants to keep these Walling Villagers safe. So it's a Fast Castle from BlinG. We got Hallis also playing FC here with Portuguese. And Winchester playing Scouts. Now, if you are fully walled, then the Scouts of the opponent won't do much. But there is a big if in that, especially with a Scout, an Eagle, 2 militias coming in here, and oh boy, BlinG could be in a bit of a trouble over here. If he manages to somehow fix these walls, it's gonna be fine, but all that Winchester and Classic Pro will do right now is make sure that those walls don't go up, and you can actually bring in the Scouts of Winchester here. It looks like we'll have one Voyager being blocked over here, and that's gonna be one dead Voyager by the Scout. Scouts will come back from Hallis and BlinG, so they should be able to take a fairly competitive engagement over here, but BlinG is the first one to lose a Voyager in the process. I like this sneaky will, walling this one off while the militias are still roaming inside. So BlinG loses a Voyager over here, goes for Brax right now. That Scout still rampaging the eco, and his Fast Castle is gonna turn into a slow castle over here, that's for sure, because this is going to be a disrupted build order. Still, there is 2 Scouts over here, although you have to add that both Hallis and BlinG have Dark Age Scouts. So you can see that it is no +2 attack on them just yet. Feudal Age will be in for BlinG now, so he's actually going to be able to use that Scout to clean up the opponent's Scout here. And there is still a hole here. Oh my goodness, there is still a hole for BlinG over there. He's going to have to make a Spearman. Make Spearman, my friend, because you're up against multiple Scouts now, and Winchester is the last person that you want in your base with Scouts. He's just so frustrating running around with those Scouts. Extremely good unit control when it comes to that with Winch. And you gotta start making Scouts. It looks like BlinG has to give up on this Fast Castle build here, because nice quick walls, by the way, from a beautiful quick walls actually, saving those Voyagers on the berries. The walls are still open, and he's not sending anyone to close them. Look at that, once again, militias will take the fight against the Spearman. Excellent unit micro over there from SalzZ. And they lose 1 Scout to this engagement, and at the end, this is gonna get cleaned up by the Scouts of BlinG. It looks like Winchester decides it was enough, and he won't actually pursue any additional Scouts being sent to the opponent's base. I think that indeed it was enough. You actually caused an awful lot of damage on the opponent's eco already, and it looks like you just drop a house over there, I think, if you are BlinG. That's probably easier. And at the end of the day, BlinG's Castle Age is going to be delayed quite heavily. Castle Age coming in first for Hallis, and soon we'll have that Castle Age coming in as well for Winch. He actually went for a 28+2 Drush FC, so that's the reason why he's later to Castle Age than his opponent. But that could also mean that, especially with the cheaper gold cost on the archers of Hallis, Hallis could have a nice advantage in archer numbers. Eventually these Scouts will finally clean up the militias and the Eagles. One positive about this one is that you kill the opponent's Scouts, so now they don't really have scouting information. But other than that, everything else seems to be favoring Winchester's team, although the Voyager count is still fairly close. So at the end, BlinG only lost 1 Voyager, which is not necessarily the end of the world. He's gonna have some crazy farming here, 15 already on farms. So you gotta start adding Voyagers to gold as well if you wanna go Knights. But for now, he has the gold for Castle Age, so he just wants to go up. And then add a couple more Voyagers on gold for a Knight. So, what do we have here? Triple Brax Eagles. Haha. That also explains why they're pushing BlinG. Because if BlinG is delayed to Castle Age, he's just gonna get it overrun by Triple Brax Eagles. The Knights should eat the Eagles, no problem. But what happens if there isn't enough Knights on the field? That's the problem. If there is not enough Knights on the field, then suddenly there is just going to be no chance to stop the Eagles whatsoever. So that's the main problem that they're facing right now. With that, we're gonna have Castle Age in for Classic Pro. The thing is that BlinG is not that much behind, although, well, he's actually 2.5 minutes behind. Never mind, he's in trouble. If they can survive somehow until BlinG gets to Castle and gets like 10-15 knights out, it's alright. But it could be something like Eagle Camel, now I think about that, or Eagle CA. It's gonna be a super aggro play. It's a super aggro play here from Winchester Classic Pro. They go for triple range CA combined with triple Barracks Eagles. This could be very dangerous for Hallis+BlinG, because at the end of the day, they don't really have any army that stops Eagle and Cav Archer. The mobility is gonna be huge. Now, if you see BlinG, he's going to spot the Barracks, I believe. Indeed, he sees 2, so he should know it's Eagles. He should know exactly it is Eagles, especially now that he sees the Eagle Warrior upgrade, and he knows that he has to make Knights. But the thing is that I like Eagle Warrior and Cav Archer more than Knights and Crossbows, especially the mobility of the Crossbows is the problem. So the Cav Archers and the Eagles have a much greater mobility, so they will just do hit and run. They will hit whichever player is not supported by the Crossbows of Hallis. This is a very nice combination. Overall, indeed, here come the CA. That was a fast university for ballistics over there. And with that, we're gonna have a triple Barracks Eagles slowly streaming through the map already. This gate is the weak part of BlinG's base. As he reaches Castle Age, he's gonna get a couple of knights out. But still, soon the Cav Archers will be coming in, or they with Thumbring, and they will have ballistics in a matter of moments thanks to that university. This is a super aggressive play from Vincent Classic Pro, and you can tell they prepared for this. Because the previous build that they used was extremely good. This build is also very nice from them, and you already have a foothold coming in the middle by Winchester, dropping the TC. Eagles trying to bash their way through these walls. The crossbows are coming in to relieve the pressure on BlinG's base. Voyager count is very close still. The Cav Archers will try to deny the second layering, and there's a chance there is a hole here. Yeah, there is a hole. There is definitely a hole, and I feel like now the trouble is definitely quite big. Luckily, there isn't really a lot of Cav Archers, so the Knights can still take a good engagement, and these Knights have +1, +2, so don't underestimate this. But still, once Cav Archers are actually here, this is gonna be a little bit more troublesome for Hallis+BlinG. They will try to disengage, the Knights have to cut off the escape path. You gotta take down the Eagles. Just surround the Eagles and take this fight. Not sure why he's not blocking the Eagles. He could have blocked the escape out of the Eagles and just finish off 5, 6, 7, 8 Eagles over here. He will still kill a couple of them, but at the end of the day, like, this was a somewhat underwhelming fight, and that's Tatars with heal bonus. Keep that in mind. Tatar Cav Archers soon with ballistics, or they with Thumbring and heal bonus. That's a very nice and clean build from Winchester this time with the Tatars. And this is going to be awfully hard to fight. Up hills. Oh my goodness, that's a disaster for Hallis+BlinG, I believe. Now the Knights have the hill, but that means that the Eagles will just jump on the crossbows. That's the problem. The crossbows struggle to get up hills, but if you don't have the Knights in front, the Eagles will just eat them. And with that, this is getting worse and worse for Hallis+BlinG. They played really well in this one, but I feel like in these last two maps, they are falling short in terms of strategy. Maybe they're running out of juice. Regardless of that, if they end the tournament here, I think that they delivered an insanely good performance, and they're far from losing still, so there's a good chance for them. I just don't feel the momentum that I have felt in the Cape of Storms game, or I have felt in the Arabia game. I just feel like they're defending, but not necessarily getting closer and closer to winning this one. Once again, Tatar Cav Archers firing down hills, being extremely efficient. They pick off 3-4 crossbows before they would do anything, and the mobility factor is the problem. That's the biggest issue right now. This is an insanely fast army, Cav Archers and Eagles, whereas your army is much slower. So the Knights and the crossbows, I feel like the only chance that you got here for the British team is if you can actually force an engagement close to one of the Russian players' DCs or bases. So, once again, hill advantage on the side of SalzZ, and they will take the hill with the Tatar Cav Archers as well. Constantly being forced to fight up hills is not great for Hallis by any means. And this is what I said, if you actually detach the knights from the crossbows, then the eagles will eat the crossbows up, and I feel like that's the end for the British team here. Because those crossbows will mostly go down to the eagles, and the knights are getting eaten up by the cav archers. The numbers are just steadily increasing for Classic Pro and Winchester, and eco is better now for SalzZ. Army numbers getting better and better as well. There's a couple of leftover crossbows here, but the cav archers should have no trouble finishing them off. Really nice game from SalzZ, and the last two games have been massively in their favor. It hurts the soul of the British team right now that they didn't win Arabia because they were so close, but regardless of that, I think it's worth giving a shout out to the British team. Seed 17 against seed 1 in this one. And if you think about that, they actually made SalzZ run for their money quite heavily. So this wasn't a stomp by any means. In fact, this was a fairly competitive series where apparently the British team is falling short on strategies in game number 3 and game number 4. So it is still 13 eagles on the field with 24 cav archers, but once again, mobility, mobility, mobility. You gotta also add the fact that SalzZ already has a foothold, a very, very good foothold in the middle. Winchester is already mining stone, which means they will actually get to a castle soon, and once the castle goes up on that hill with Tatars, oh my goodness, who's gonna be able to even take that down? So, cav archers will actually be able to run in here, and there isn't really a lot of knights to help. And here's the deal. These crossbows, as I said, are just so slow in movement. The mobility factor is what is crazy for Winchester and Classic Pro over here. And with that, we're gonna have the cav archers once again falling back here on Hallis' base. Hallis will see the cav archers, but we'll see if he can actually react to that, because there's quite a lot of eagles here. This is gonna be the narrow choke point that the crossbows take, but there is the cav archers, and the cav archers could take this little hill, and that would also apply for the hill bonus of Tatars. Indeed, that's exactly what Winchester is doing. He takes the hill, and I feel like this is the way that the British team goes down. Hallis and BlinG really made this competitive. And I think I'm super impressed, especially with BlinG, because I know that Hallis is a solid player and fairly consistent, but BlinG came back to competitive Age of Empires 2 months ago, and he has been indistinguishable from the other players. It's not like he played worse whatsoever. He played just as good as the others. Hallis also stepped up his game, to be honest, because really neither of the British players actually played bad in this one. They got slightly outplayed, but that's no shame to two extremely strong players like Winchester and Classic Pro, but I feel like it starts to slowly become a matter of when, not a matter of who, with 20 villagers advantage, double the army, and the thing is that this is just gonna get worse and worse for Hallis and BlinG. They will soon have to move to the middle for gold, but that seems somewhat impossible with this many cav archers and eagles around. And look at that. Imperial Age will come in for Classic Pro. So that's gonna be Elite Eagles. Other side, no one is close to imping, and this story for a British team might end when Imperial Age clicks in for Classic Pro, or maybe even faster than that. Because once again, the crossbows are just going to be slow catching up. The mobility factor is what really helps SalzZ in this one. So they can just run away whenever they see the crossbows, and you see that crossbows move in here, and now they move back. So Imperial Age on the way. Castle is already up for Winch. He is still on stone, so there will be a second castle somewhere around over here to deny the opponent's movement. There's already cav archers being assembled here on the left to get some raiding damage done around this part of the map. And once again, just hold the hill type of a game for Classic Pro and Winch. The last 2 games they have been fairly dominant over their opponent. First 2 games were extremely entertaining though. And I'm sad to see BlinG's team exit, because I was looking forward to seeing them, and it would have been the story of the tournament if Hallis and BlinG get into the main event beating SalzZ, but it seems like it's not gonna happen. And I would like to credit both SalzZ players as well, because after the scary start on Arabia, they didn't waver, and they still managed to come back into that game that was an extremely important comeback for them. Then they lost Cape of Storms, but then they came up with an extremely good game plan for the 2 games that succeeded. And with that, this is GG over here. Winchester and Classic Pro get into the main event. I think that was the predicted result, so to say. But you really gotta give credit for Hallis+BlinG because they exceeded expectations. They went for at least 2 very, very competitive games. So Arabia was an extremely good game. The Cape of Storms game was a very good performance as well for Hallis+BlinG. But then Winchester and Classic Pro shows why they are actually still a top team. And I'm looking forward to the SalzZ in the main event. They are the first one to get in there. They will be joined by the 8 invited teams in the main event next week in the group stage. Group stage, obviously the groups aren't set yet because there is still 7 qualifier spots to grab. But the first one to qualify will be SalzZ.